The Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria has confirmed a fire outbreak at the old terminal of Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos. The Director of Public Affairs and Consumer Protection of FAN, Henry Abebire, disclosed that authorities were already on ground managing the situation. He added that the agency's emergency response unit had swung into action to prevent further damage, assuring the public that there were no casualties from the incident. Passengers and airport users had been advised to remain calm as officials work to fully extinguish the fire and assess the extent of damage to the facility. Hundreds of youth and women drawn from different communities in Barikaladi local government area, Plateau State, today staged a peaceful demonstration to protest the incessant attacks and killings of their people by suspected Fulani militias. The protest, which was triggered by another brutal attack at Ratatis community in Dorowa, Abuja district of the council on Sunday night, where over 10 people were killed by the terrorists, which led to the barricading of the Jos Mango Punction Highway, which is a major link between the state capital and the central parts of the state, thereby causing serious traffic gridlock that spilled over to Jos and its environs. A youth leader, Ishaya Gaius, who spoke with correspondents during the protest, said the people were tired of the wave of attacks carried out by the terrorists, which has led to the killing of their people, destruction of their homes and farmlands, as well as outright sacking of some communities. Gaius lamented that local communities in the council have suffered repeated attacks by the terrorists, while the government and security operatives have done little or nothing to stop them. He noted that in the past 6 months, more than 10 communities have been attacked, while over 50 lives have been lost, after crying the silence of the state government and security agencies who have repeatedly paid lip service to the issue of security in the council and other parts of the state. He accused security operatives of often failing to respond to distress calls by victims whenever the terrorists strike. The National Publicity Secretary of the Birom Youth Murder Association, Ruang Tangwang, who was present during the protest, said the attack is part of a growing security challenge in the state, where several communities have been reportedly displaced, targeted by gunmen, leading to significant loss of lives. He bemoaned the incessant security lapses, saying that Plateau State is not out for slaughter, as some of the terrorists have decided to take it upon themselves to depose residents of their homeland. He says they cannot continue in this polarized system, calling out the government of the day and saying insecurity cannot stand anymore in Plateau State. Now, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has approved the cancellation of 485 land documents in Abuja after they failed to meet verification standards set by the authorities. The affected documents were nullified following an extensive review conducted by the Department of Land Administration in a recent targeted procedure. Now, the review was conducted by the Department of the Administration along with the Abuja Geographical Information Systems. Officials said that the documents did not pass authenticity checks, with many confirmed to be fake. In a public notice issued by the Federal Capital Territory Administration today and marked as Batch 1, authorities confirmed that invalid applications have been removed from the regularization database. The notice specifically addressed applicants who had submitted area council land documents for validation. The council documents span several area councils and layouts. In the Buhari Area Council, the affected locations include Ushafa Village Expansion Scheme, Ushafa Extension, and Dawaki Extension 1. Within the Abuja Municipal Area Council, impacted districts include Kurudu Jikoyi Relocation, Kurudu Commercial, Kara Village Extension, Yanya Phase Extension, Jikoyi Residential, Sabo Lube, and Lube 1 Extension. Kuchiyako 1 layout in the Kuje area was also affected. The latest action is coming amidst ongoing land administration reforms initiated by the FCTA to address long long-standing challenges, including forged documents, double allocations, and irregular cancellations, and forms a part of a broader regularization exercise that has been underway for months. The background to the reforms dates back to last year, when the FCTA disclosed that only 8,287 out of 261,914 area council land documents submitted between 2006 and 2023 had been screened. The Minister of the FCT has slammed politicians who go about buying corn and other items from petty traders during election campaigns. Speaking days after the FCT Council polls, while commissioning 54 units of construction equipment in Edo State, Wike said winning elections is not by buying and eating corn by the roadside. According to the minister, elections are won on the bedrock of visible achievements by political parties and those in authority. Let's take a very brief listen to him.
Most especially, I congratulate the All Progressive Congress APC and the People's Democratic Party for their victories. This election has indeed shown that Nigeria now know the ruling party and the real opposition party. Also, the election has further exposed the hypocrisy of people who go about buying corns and granules from roadside sellers for the purpose of campaign, just to deceive Nigerians. Yesterday, the residents of FCT demonstrated that they cannot be deceived by emergency Democrats who have chosen not to see anything good in our country and the government. I thank Mr. President for the development he has brought to the FCT. This election is a reflection of the President's vision and leadership, and a testimony that the New Hope agenda has brought optimism and confidence to the people of the FCT. No doubt, the commitment of President Tinubu to improving the lives of Nigerians, particularly the residents of the FCT, have not gone unnoticed. The New Hope agenda has given us hope for a better future, and we are confident that under his leadership, the FCT will continue to be a model of development and progress. I commend the President for standing firm in defense of democracy, particularly in ensuring the amendment of the Electoral Act to strengthen the conduct of credible elections. This demonstrates his commitment to improving our democratic process.
That was the FCT Minister addressing the press immediately after the FCT Council polls. Now, you know, the director of the Obedient Movement as well has come out to condemn the activities in Rivers State, calling out the FCT Minister for his undemocratic tenets towards conducted during the FCT Council polls. He says that this can no longer continue. Let's take a listen to him.
This is a statement of the Obedient Movement as a press conference on the AMAC chairmanship elections in Abuja today, the 23rd of February 2026. We address you today with a heavy heart, filled with both profound disappointment and righteous anger. The result of the Abuja Municipal Area Council AMAC chairmanship election held this past Saturday, February 21st, 2026, are not just a political setback, they are a brazen assault on the foundation of our democracy. As many of you know, the Obedient Movement and indeed fellow Nigerians chew their full weight behind the African Democratic Congress ADC candidate, Dr. Moses Paul, and his other candidate, inspired by the visions of a new Nigeria, with our supporters mobilized with unprecedented passion, creating a powerful coalition for a change. The Independent Electoral Commission contributed to the voters' apathy by dividing the polling unit without informing the voters, making it difficult for voters to locate their polling units. Many left in frustration, not voting, with 7% turnout. His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi showed his capacity once again with the love of the Nigerian people who came out to support the candidate of the party within a short time of joining the ADC. By calling his supporters to come out and vote, This explained the marginal increase of voters within the compared previous voting pattern in the FCT local government elections. We were clearly ahead in the polls. The will of the people was undeniable. Yet, that we witnessed was a criminal subversion of that will. The declared victory of the All Progressive Congress was not earned at the polling unit. It was manufactured through a campaign of violence, intimidation, and blatant manipulation. Our agents on the ground were systematically targeted. They were harassed, threatened, intimidated in a desperate attempt to silence them. Tragically, this campaign of fear culminated into the ultimate prize of one of our most dedicated agents, a patriot named Malam Musa Abubakar, popularly known as Dengue, was at his post in the Gwagwa polling unit for resisting a daring attempt by Hoodie's electoral fraud and the thugs that were hired to enforce it. We appreciate Dr. Mo. We appreciate Dr. Mo and his team for visiting the family immediately in solidarity and providing support. We condemn with outrage that with this act of stealing of the people's mandate, the people of Amak spoke clearly with their votes, choosing a new direction with Dr. Mo and the ADC. Their voice was stolen in broad daylight. We will not stand by and watch our democracy being discredited. We demand a full and transparent review of the election results and a call on the security agency to bring the perpetrators of this violence, especially the murderers of Musa, to justice. We call on all Nigerians, on every civil society groups, and in the international community to stand with us in this particular trying moment of our democracy in Nigeria. We must condemn this electoral injustice in the strongest possible terms. We urge INEC to act immediately to address this grievous allegation and restore the sanctity of the ballot. This is no longer about one election. This is a fight for the soul of our dear nation.
In another development, the Lagos State government has approved a 13% increase in fares across all services under the bus reform initiative, which includes the bus rapid transport system and standard bus routes throughout the state. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu granted the approval after receiving a passionate appeal from regulated public transport buses and operators who highlighted the mounting challenges threatening the long-term viability of their operations in Nigeria's current economic climate. In a statement by Head of Corporate Communication, Lamata Kolawole Ojelabi, the revised fare structure will come into effect from Monday, March 2, 2026. Now, data from the National Bureau of Statistics shows Nigeria's headline inflation rate stood at 15.15% as of December 2025, with only slight moderation to around 15.1% in January 2026, levels that continue to exert heavy strain on operating costs. As it stands, also, the statement made recently says it is an adjustment designed to help offset the severe impact of ongoing economic pressures on public transport providers, also aligning with the state's previously established annual fare review mechanism. The urgency of the measure is driven by persistent inflationary trends. Now, a former Kaduna State Governor, Mr. Nasir El-Rufai, has filed a 1 billion naira fundamental rights enforcement suit against the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission. Well, in that particular regard, he did that because of the unlawful invasion and search of his Abuja residence. In the suit, filed at the Federal High Court in Abuja on February 20 by his counsel, Oluwole Iyamu, El-Rufai is challenging the validity of a search warrant issued on February 4 by a chief magistrate of the FCT Magistrates Court. He is asking the court to declare the warrant authorizing the search and seizure at his residence invalid, null and void. According to the application, the former governor contended that the warrant was null and void for lack of particularly material drafting errors, ambiguity in execution parameters, overbreadth and absence of probable cause, thereby constituting an unlawful and unreasonable search in violation of Section 37 of the Constitution. El-Rufai listed the ICPC as well as the first respondent, while the Chief Magistrate of the FCT Magistrate Court, Abuja Magisterial District, the Inspector General of Police, as well as the Attorney General of the Federation. It is seeking 7 reliefs, including a declaration that the invasion and search of his residence at House 12 Mambila Street, Aso Drive, Abuja, on February 19 at about 2 p.m., allegedly carried out by operatives of the ICPC and the Nigeria Police Force under the disputed warrant, violated his fundamental rights. Specifically, he asked the court to declare that the search amounts to a gross violation of the applicant's fundamental rights, the dignity of the human person, personal liberty, fair hearing, and privacy under sections 34, 35, 36, and 37 of the Constitution. He further urged the court to declare that any evidence obtained pursuant to the aforesaid invalid warrant and unlawful search is inadmissible in any proceeding against the applicant, as it was procured in breach of constitutional safeguards. The National Judicial Council has commenced what insiders described as a discreet but far-reaching investigation into some highly placed judges in the country, including heads of courts. Sources within the council disclosed to correspondents that the ongoing inquiry, described as extraordinary, was triggered by a series of serious petitions against unnamed senior judicial officers. The National Judicial Council, the constitutional body responsible for appointing, promoting, and disciplining judicial officers, is chaired by the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Kudirat Kekereekun. According to insiders, the probe followed what they termed a wave of damning and disturbing petitions alleging grave misconduct. The source added that the investigation is being handled with strict confidentiality and is known only to a handful of insiders. Deeply disturbed by the weight of the allegations, the CJN is mobilizing the NJC for urgent administrative action. She does not want these claims to further erode public confidence in the judiciary. The identities of the judges under investigation and the petitioners were not disclosed, as officials said they were not authorized to speak publicly on the matter. Similarly, the NJC's Deputy Director Information, Kemi Babalola Ogendekwe, said she was unaware of any such probe. Justice Kekereekun had in September 2025, during the commencement of the 2025-2026 legal year, pledged reforms aimed at promoting judicial excellence, transparency, and effective administration of justice. Now, ahead of its March 2026 National Convention, indications have emerged that the APC may adopt a consensus arrangement in electing new members of its National Working Committee. The disclosure was made by the party's National Chairman, Professor Yowada Nentewa, through his media aide, Abimbola Tuki. Tuki disclosed that the ruling party traditionally prefers consensus before considering open contest for key positions. He said leaders of the party at all levels will be carried along in the process. According to him, consensus remains the APC's first option in filling positions in the NWC, especially where interests can be harmonized. The party had announced in December 2025 that it would hold its national convention in March 2026, when new National Working Committee members would be elected for a 4-year term. Despite the possibility of consensus, there are indications that some positions may be keenly contested as governors and key stakeholders move to consolidate influence ahead of the 2027 general elections. Meanwhile, the national coordinator of the Obedient Movement worldwide, Yunus Atanko, has dismissed claims that security agencies are planning to come up with corruption charges against former presidential candidate Mr. Peter Obi ahead of the 2027 general elections. Tanko asserted that the former Anambra governor has no criminal record and has never been indicted by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission or the Department of State Services for corruption. He made the clarification against the backdrop of reports suggesting that Obi and other opposition heavyweights in the ADC may be targeted for arrest amid the alleged persecution and travels of former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai. There were also talks as of last week that Rotimi Amaechi may soon be arrested as well, from a source from Rivers State alleging that top bigwigs in the ADC are being targeted by the government to weaken the opposition. Other prominent figures mentioned to be on the watch list included former Osun State Governor Ralph Aregbesola and former Rivers State Governor Rotimi Amaechi, Tanko maintained that Obi and his supporters will not be intimidated for any reason. When asked if he believed the alleged persecution and corruption charges against opposition figures were linked to the 2027 elections, Tanko said it was indeed quite obvious. You're currently listening to the World News right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. We'll take a very short break. When we return, we'll head into a news analysis segment while we're joined via the telephone with Barrister Tunji Abdulhamid, who is a political, national and social affairs commentator. Barrister Tunji will be responding to some pertinent questions on some of the stories read out on the World News at 6. Do kindly stay with us. Tunji Abdulhamid, good evening and thank you for joining us today, sir. How are you?
Good evening. Thank you for having me, Esther.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Barrister Tunji Abdulhamid. So let's start up with this very recent development. The council elections that was just concluded, the FCT Minister said that everything was done fine and berated the opposition who used buying of groundnut and corn or whatever as a campaign strategy. But the obedient movement coordinator came out to call out the FCT Minister. He said that certain persons, that some thugs actually murdered one of the agents, and he says that man was massacred by these hoodlums. He also talked about the fact that there was serious disenfranchisement and that at the collation center a lot of rigging took place. How would you describe this concerning what transpired, in the recent council elections, looking ahead of how 2027 will be shaped?
Esther, what caught my attention in the election is that the low turnout. That is the first thing that caught my attention. There was a low turnout in that election, and I've also seen so many pulling result sheets that have been the postulated one for that matter, where 200 is being changed to 1,002 or something. These are some of the outcomes that I've seen. Anyway, everybody, it's still an allegation until that's how they will tell you go and prove it. But what I've seen now is that look, we have not gotten to where we are going to. We are still doing the same thing the same way, and we're expecting a different result. Unfortunately, the National Assembly put down the issue of e-transmission real time. If you have that real-time transmission, probably this may not be the case. And it is now. We are still battling with the issue of people changing results, people writing results, and people moving from. But there's still imbalance in this electoral process. You can see Mr. Wiki a day before the election declared curfew, and on the election day he was moving from one place to another. So I do not see anything different from what I've been doing, and I do not expect that the FCT Minister will see otherwise than what he has said. He got the victory, so as far as he's concerned, they've done the right thing. He said they got the victory because they are doing the right thing. They are providing the right results. But if you ask most Nigerians, even people in Abuja, the only thing even Mr. Wike himself, if you ask him, the only thing he's going to tell you that he has done that people are seeing is just a road. Much improvement we don't have much improvement in our health sector, in the health sector in Abuja. We're not told that water is now running everywhere in Abuja. We're not told that the education is now worldwide in Abuja. So what he meant by having done well, I don't understand what he's saying. But like I said, I'm not surprised. I do not expect him to say otherwise. He got the result. It's in his favor. If you have gone to the other side too, the other side people will be saying it was wrong, it was this and that. And then that's why we say, look, if we have transparency in it, if it's not only we're not only seeing the results, people will have that trust and confidence in that result, and people will believe in it. Now people are talking about going to court, and that's what they are trying to prevent. When we say change the electoral act so that we'll be able to get an election that people will respect. As it is today now, we are still on the same page. We are still doing the same thing the way. You see, the campaign strategy adopted by each political party is different. But Mr. Wike's strategy, you know, the kind of strategy that he adopts. So people are buying groundnut, they are buying pepper soup or whatever they are buying. If people buy it into it, so please, after all this apparently what you use in the election and whereby you go for one and them thereafter. So for me,
in regards to what you're saying about, at the end of the day, if you have anything other than what you present, go to court. Well, Nigerians, you know, Nigerians have complained about the transparency in the conduct at the courts. They've accused or alleged that the judges or the judicial system is being weaponized by politicians to supposedly placate or satisfy the elites to the detriment of, you know, the average Nigerian who may not have any political clout or any financial substance, you know, to induce anything. And because of that, there are complaints that the judiciary has literally fragmented democracy in this part of the world because of that. Meanwhile, the National Judicial Council decided to commence what insiders have described as a discreet but far-reaching investigation, right, into some highly placed judges in the country, including heads of court. Now, these sources has within the council disclosed lately that the ongoing inquiry, described as extraordinary, was triggered by a series of serious petitions against unnamed senior judicial officers. And so they're saying basically that it can no longer continue when top judges are being accused as political weapons, you know, used against the people. They provide a conclusion on any issue based on who pays more. And Justice Kikereko had last year said they were going to sanitize the judicial sector. They were going to probe a lot of these judges who they consider to be dirty, you know, underhand. In fact, certain panels were set up as of last year. Some judges and some senior lawyers were asked to resign or leave, and most of the benefits and entitlements attached to them dropped. Could this be the second phase of that exercise?
Esther, I appreciate what they are doing. I think it's not enough as far as I'm concerned. Probably I want to go further to be able to get more results in this regard. To get more results in this regard. I think even most time when they say the people are being punished, the punishment, as far as I'm concerned, sometimes it does not commensurate with the offense being committed. When somebody is being said you will be committed for 1 year, or you will look at that would not be enough to deter anybody from doing the wrong thing. When you do that, you sack them, or you do things that will make them regret that they even did it at all. So when you give them a patch at the back, or you just give them a slap as a degree of punishment, you are not doing that. You are not deter anybody. I think we need to do more. We need to go beyond the rituals of we do this, we do that. I think they are not prompt. As far as I'm concerned, they are not prompt in taking action against any judicial officers. That's why you see this. Most times, if you after 5 years, 10 years, that you see them talk about punishment for anybody that has been alleged to have been committed an infraction. I think the one will do more of punishing people instanter, promptly. Probably that will teach them a lesson. When they sack people, when they punish people and ask them to refund or go to prison when necessary, then there will be change. But like I said, always say, I will not isolate the judiciary from the president of Nigeria. Nigeria is a country, and as long as Nigeria is having problem, any arm of the government or part of the government will not be exempted from those problems. Nigeria, we are lacking in proper structure and institution. So, and that is why judiciary is the way it is. How do we appoint these people we are talking about? How do we get the result from these judges? How are they nominated to become a judge? These are the issues. So until we look at these issues and it is resolved, and until Nigeria itself as an institution, until we respect the institution itself, not individual. We are a CJN of a former CJN of the country was removed by ex parte application. At the day that I'm not sure that anything serious will happen. I said they went to court and later it was settled, and then he was giving something, and that was all. So as long as we continue in this manner, people will do the wrong thing, and then think, look, after all, they have been covered.
So the person that gave that ex parte order, with which he was suspended, I'm not sure if there was any punishment against that person. So as far as I'm concerned, well, we don't punish people for wrongdoing. We will not get the
Thank you so much for that response. Let's come on to security and the political theatrics at play. There have been several accusations at the APC as a political party apathetical to the needs and concerns of Nigerians, specifically when it comes to security. Nigerians have across several social media platforms complain that the insecurity has gotten so bad that the APC as a party has deliberately refused to address it. They deliberately come out and discuss political issues, very quick to respond to the opposition, call out certain elements or certain individuals within the opposition party, but they are lackadaisical, literally apathetic to the current vulnerabilities of the administration. There are also talks as to the fact that Nigerians have found it difficult to differentiate President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as a president and the fact that he is in a political party, but he is not in regard to just focusing on political affairs, but administering for the country. They have connected the situation of lackadaisical brigandage and apathy of the government of the day with the political party in terms of how the president has comported himself regarding issues. And these, according to a couple of Nigerians, has blindfolded or sidelined some positive efforts that the administration of the day, headed by Tinubu, may have done, making reference to the spokespersons not addressing these issues. By Satunji Abdulhamid, in Bauchi, residents were seen packing their loads from their homes because of terrorists. In Plateau State, they were actually protesting today. They said more than 50 of their communities and villages, these individuals have killed their people, wanting killings unprovoked, and nothing has happened. Nobody has responded. Nobody has said anything. The supposed hope on the United States arrival to Nigeria, it feels that they're not yet feeling their impact, aside from the bombing that took place on December 25, 2025. Now, in light of all of this, Kogi State is also one state that has been riddled by insecurity, yet the governor for the 2027 elections. What's your take on this, sir?
You've not rounded up the issue. Everything is about politics. We have a president who is known to be political strategic master strategist. And unlike the previous presidents, the Buhari and Jonathan, they are also concerned about politics or engaged. But this president will not leave anything stone on top when it comes to politics. So politics is what the president takes seriously compared to the main job that he has acquired, the welfare and security of the people. And that's why you see them whenever an issue arises in terms of security, they only speak, but when it comes to politics, they are very proactive in responding because that's their priority. The priority to win election. And that's why the Senate preparation since day one or even before the one of getting to the office. It shows clearly the concern of the president, the priority of the ruling parties, and the concern of those who are in charge. It's just to capture power, not about the people. And that's why they are not doing much in terms of what you have said, in terms of security and in terms of welfare.
All right, Barrister Tunji Abdulhamid, it is something else to consider. I mean, people wake up in the morning, go about their business activities, they don't even know if they'll return home. Somebody just sent me a very terrible video of an incident that took place on 3rd Mainland Bridge this morning on this dispatch riders. It's a very gory video, Barrister Tunji Abdulhamid. I mean, this man's hand is crushed. People were there looking at him. I don't know why they could not transport him to any hospital, and he was literally bleeding all over the place. I mean, it tells you that you're not sure if you go out to hustle that you'll return home. You're in your home and you're not safe. Everywhere just seems to be quite confusing and riddled with a lot of inexplicable situations occurring, and no address, no communication. Why is that opaqueness being involved or being observed where nobody is communicating anything to the people? It's literal suffering daily, except for a few who seem to be enjoying the largesse of the government of the day.
What you just said now is what you now would have said earlier on. It's just the same answer. It's because of the priority of the government. The government is not interested in it's not showing much interest in the no reason why they are in power. Because if you look at section 14, section 2B of our constitution, the essence of government of the primary responsibility of the government is to provide welfare and security. But it appears that is secondary to those in government. Their major primary responsibility is what's it called? Is politics. And and that's why and I won't blame them most time. You can see everybody will talk now, they will say to talk the truth. I'm quoting them. Let's say the truth. Mr. Rupi has done very well. And if you ask them what he did now, they will tell about road in Abuja. As if road is the only responsibility of the government. As if those who have come before him have not done road. They may not have done as far as he has done. But in an exam, if you set a question and you say students will answer 5 out of 10, and they are able to do one very well, is that a pass mark? As far as I'm concerned, it's not. The people celebrate it and say is a performing minister, is a performing this and that. So when we celebrate things that are not up to standard, that are not up to pass mark, then you get this kind of results. So they are more concerned in those areas. So for me, they need to do the right thing for the benefit of the people is a secondary priority. The primary priority for them is how to win the election and how to play politics, and that's why they tell you most times you don't know how to play the game, and then you must learn how to play the game. So until we have leaders or people in authority who have the interest of the masses at heart, not their own personal benefits, that's when we get the right result. So when people complain that the government is lacking in this, is lacking in that, they will tell you are criticizing the government or you are demarketing the government. When Anthony Joshua had his accident in what's it called, Shadam, people complain about the government not having what's it called, ambulance. If somebody is facing a charge now based on that, because he called out the government to say, look, we don't have ambulance and this thing happen. So when you say the right thing, you are attacked. So that is the kind of thing that we're having, and that's why we are not getting the right result. Until the government, those in government, we see reasons why they are in government as to serve people. That's where we get the right result. As it is today, people are not doing the right thing, and we will not get the right result. We are doing the same thing the same way and expect a bigger result. This is unfortunate.
All right, Barrister, finally, before I let you go, there are talks of attempts to arrest, some members of the ADC. After what happened with Malami, then RFI, there were talks of last week by somebody in Rivers who admitted that they may go after Rotimi Amaechi. We don't know what may be in the cabinet or in the closet of Rotimi Amaechi. Then that's not the only person, too, that has been mentioned. There are also fears that Peter Obi, too, may be targeted. Peter Obi, on several occasions, have asked them, that is the EFCC, the ICPC, any one of them, to go ahead and do their investigation if they have anything against him. He has always expressed that confidence. Although the director of the Obedient Movement, Dr. Yunusa Tanko, has come out to say that if the EFCC wants to go about any investigation, they should, because by now they would have, used the state might and whatever resources at their disposal to go about whatever investigations they want to go about, in the case of Mr. Peter Obi. But do you think the recent handpicking of...
By the time you just see them come up and say, this was what happened, and then they will start looking for that person. I always make reference to what happened in Edo State in that election. You remember before the election, they were going after some stakeholders in the PDP on the allegation that they are investigating them. The security agencies, they said they were investigating them, and they were looking for them day and night. I knew after the election, to date, nobody's been hunted again. Nobody's been looked for any offense. That means there's no offense. So for me, as far as I'm concerned, that was not an allegation of crime. That was not an interpretation of crime. That was just an attempt to play politics. You see Mr. Kowa of Delta State, he was alleged of stealing one blood. As soon as he became to APC, we are not hearing anything today. In fact, he's not a committee member in APC. Yeah, even though Yaya Bello, his own case is in court, how well are they handling the case in court? So if you look at all these, so many of these issues, you look at the fact that this former humanitarian minister, Edu, yes, or investigation has been on for how many years now? nothing has happened. We are not hearing anybody being there's no any attempt.
Nobody is being called out. Although, and she's still working for the government, just not in an official capacity anyway.
They're not nobody is taking her to court. Everybody was alleged of an offense how many days ago. He's already facing so many charges in court. So that is the way. So with that kind of a method, people, even if you have a genuine case, people will read meaning into it, and they will read politics into it. As far as I'm concerned, I'm also reading policies into it.
Barrister Tunji Abdulhamid, thank you so much for giving us your time and responding to some of the questions of the World News at 6. We sincerely do appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Barrister Tunji Abdulhamid is a legal practitioner. He's also a political and national affairs commentator. And obviously, we appreciate him giving us his perspective to the stories read out on the World News at 6. But just before we go, let's look at stories outside the shores of Nigeria. At least 25 members of Mexico's National Guard have died during a wave of violence in the state of Jalisco after the killing of a drug lord. The country's security minister recently disclosed how many people have died. Unrest has erupted in at least 20 states since Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, better known as El Mencho, died in custody on Sunday shortly after being captured by Mexican special forces. Mexico has sent 2,500 soldiers to the west of the country to bolster security. Defense Secretary Ricardo Travilla recently disclosed the Jalisco New Generation Cartel is one of the most feared criminal organizations in Mexico, and its leader was Mexico's most wanted man before his death on Sunday. El Mencho was captured on Sunday after forces struck down a romantic partner he was meeting. He was seriously injured in a firefight between his bodyguards and the military commandos deployed to capture him. El Mencho died while the military was transporting him from the town of Tapalpa in Jalisco State in the capital, Mexico City. At least 6 of El Mencho's security guards were also killed in the operation, while 3 members of the Mexican military were injured. Security Secretary Omar Garcia Hafuch said a prison guard, a member of the state prosecutor's office, and 30 members of El Mencho's criminal organization were killed in the unrest since his death. Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum has praised the army's operation that led to El Mencho's death and said her priority is to guarantee peace and security across the country. As news of El Mencho's death spread, members of his cartel launched attacks in many towns and cities where the CJGN is active. In some towns, they blocked roads by throwing spikes and nails onto the tarmac. In others, they commandeered buses and other vehicles and touched them in the middle of the road. Sheinbaum said that the roadblocks had been cleared by this morning. However, dozens of banks, local businesses have been damaged after they were set alight by cartel members. In many towns, streets were deserted on Sunday as local authorities told residents to seek shelter in their homes. The U.S. State Department had offered a $15 million reward for information leading to El Mencho's capture. The Mexican Ministry of Defense said that the raid aimed at capturing El Mencho had been carried out by the Mexican army with support from the country's National Guard and Air Force. Also, complementary information provided by the U.S. had helped seize a drug lord from Mexico, confirmed on Monday that no U.S. forces were involved in the killing. And that's a wrap on the World News at 6. My name is Esther Machuku. Good evening and thank you for listening.